last time on Oz Hour?
Okay, last time on Oz Hour, Jim is getting introduced as a little bitch. He has his own room, and then we get to meet all the Hungry Tiger and the lion and the sawhorse, and the sawhorse and Jim are fighting with each other, and then they decide to have a little battle against each other where they are racing, and the sawhorse beats his ass because he's not even a living thing. He's basically AI. And then we have a party because everyone's together, and Ozma's like, woohoo, yeah, national holiday. And then the wizard's like, yeah, let's do a magic show where I play with the little piglets and you. That's what he did. And Ozma's like, yay, I get to keep one for my own. And she does. And then she ends up, one of the piglets ends up getting lost, and they accuse Eureka. I almost called her Akira. Eureka. And they end up taking her to trial because they're like, you ate her. She doesn't say anything about it because she's being annoying as fuck. And then all of a sudden we find out that the pig just fell in some fucking hole, and Eureka didn't even kill it, even though she didn't say anything. They had this trial for nothing. And then everyone partied except for Eureka because she was annoying. And that's it. We're done.
Hi there, and welcome to Oz Hour, the only place where you can hear everything you never knew about the wonderful and strange land of Oz.
That's right. With the help of some alcohol, we will be discussing each of the 14 books in L. Frank Baum's Wizard of Oz series.
Today we will be beginning Book 5, The Road to Oz, covering chapters 1 through 3.
We're your hosts, Blake Stone.
And Wyatt Swangham.
And joining us is our resident Oz initiate, Hannah Aguirre.
Woo!
Okay.
I'm a woo
Hannah,
girl today.
you just played last time on, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's where you recapped the end of Book 4, Dorothy and the Wizard and Oz, right?
Yeah.
Okay, just making sure I'm caught up. So that did take you 1 minute and 23 seconds to cover. Here's how the thing. I didn't write anything down. I thought you were pretty thorough. Wyatt, do you have any notes on that?
Yeah, I think that's fine. Not much happened in the last part of the book for so much happening, so I think that you did fine.
Yeah.
Thank
you. You told the audience what a lot of nonsense the last episode
I
was.
felt like I was saying nonsense.
And for our listeners, if you are interested in hearing Hannah's attempt at summarizing the entirety of our previous book, Dorothy and the Wizard and Oz, you can stay tuned for that at the end of today's episode. Hannah, that was 3 minutes and 25 seconds long, just so you know.
I think that was the hardest thing I've ever done in my life.
Although, 5 episodes, you summarize in 3 minutes, 25 seconds, that's less than a minute per episode. So
Good work.
in that
yeah.
regard, not bad.
Yeah, we took like 6 hours to
Yay.
do the same thing.
Yeah.
Without further ado, let's get into Wyatt's cocktail that he made before we started recording.
Right. Tonight we are going to be drinking Lucky Number 7 and 7. It is just a 7 and 7, so some whiskey and 7-Up, and the Lucky Number 7 will be featured quite shortly in our episode.
All right, everybody, let's slurp.
Visit our Instagram at Oz Hour Podcast. Not bad.
So that's what my stepdad drinks.
Book 5, The Road to Oz, published in 1909. Chapter 1, The Way to Butterfield.
Okay.
This is a cold open.
Like, I don't know how to start this without starting with the dialogue.
Just read the first line.
Please, miss, said the Shaggy Man, can you tell me the road to Butterfield? Is how this book begins. All right?
Shaggy man.
Shaggy Man.
Get used to it.
Yeah,
He's
capital S, capital M.
Okay.
The Shaggy Man.
The one and
Hello,
only.
new character.
Yes, and he is talking to none other than Dorothy Gale.
She's back.
Dorothy looks him over. She's like, okay, she sees he's definitely Shaggy. She sees that something in his eye seems pleasant.
Yeah, a little twinkle.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
It's also very stranger danger to me.
Yeah.
yes, very that.
I just wouldn't be thinking of like twinkling eyes when you say Shaggy Man.
Yeah.
Yeah, right?
I don't put the two together.
Honestly,
Okay.
the shaggiest of us, though. It takes the shaggiest.
I think, okay, something else too. Like, Hannah, what do you think shaggy means? What are you imagining?
I'm thinking like I've been stuck on an island for like 5 years and I haven't washed or cut my hair. And I'm just a little dirty little boy with a little beard and a little long hair.
Wow.
That seems more or less accurate to me because
Yeah.
he's just a happy little hobo man.
Yeah, he's just a hobo. That's incredible because when I first read this book, I was like, Shaggy, what the fuck does that mean? Like,
Yeah.
that could mean anything. But literally,
Well-
it's like he's Shaggy.
Yeah, we'll learn later
Okay.
that the degree of shagginess we're talking about is shaggy whiskers, shaggy hair, shaggy clothes with holes in them, shaggy boots,
Okay.
shaggy hat.
I'm
All
glad I know
shaggy-
the meaning of shaggy.
He was a shaggy man living in a shaggy house, and he's shaggy. Okay, sorry.
So Dorothy though is like, yeah, like I can tell you, but you're like pretty far away from Butterfield because you need to cross the 10-acre lot, follow the lane to the highway, go north, and then you turn. And then she like kind of pauses because you're like, okay, there's like 5 branches. There's by the gopher holes or by the willow stump.
Yeah,
she just gets confused.
She's super turned
Whoa.
around. She does not know the directions, apparently.
Apparently.
And the Shaggy Man, he's like trying to be patient. He's trying to understand her poor direction giving. And Dorothy gets frustrated with herself, I think, and takes it out on the Shaggy Man, honestly, because she's like, you know what? I'm just going to have to take you there and show you because you're too stupid to understand my directions.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
You don't need to be like that.
It's
this is
interesting.
not my Dorothy.
But first, she has to go get her sunbonnet, which is very much our Dorothy.
Right.
So she runs inside to go get it because apparently
she knows what she needs.
she does. She knows how to be prepared, and apparently this has all been happening outside her house. Like she runs inside to go get her sunbonnet. This is on her front porch in the middle of the country. I thought there was nothing nearby. Isn't this alarming? Anyone?
Yeah, like why
Yeah.
is he walking by? That doesn't seem like it would be common. But while she's inside, the Shaggy Man, he just starts like picking up fallen apples off the ground in her yard.
Theft.
And he's dropping them into his large pockets. And then a little black dog runs out of the farmhouse barking at the Shaggy Man. And this little black dog is just like, who's this stranger trying to steal apples from my yard? Like this little black dog runs up, tries to bite the Shaggy Man's leg. The Shaggy Man just picks that dog. Toto.
Yes! I was
And-
like, is this just gonna be one of those weird like green whiskers, like so like private things or whatever?
Yeah,
Like what's
could
going
be
on?
anyone.
It could be anyone, but we're just gonna
No.
call him a black dog.
It's totally Toto.
Yeah.
It's Toto.
Yay!
And he drops Toto into his big pocket just like the apples, and he keeps picking up apples and just dropping them on top of Toto.
So Toto is just getting slowly buried in apples
Oh my
in the
God.
unknown size of this man's pockets. And he's just getting his little head bonked. That's pretty much it.
Oh my God.
Yeah, this is causing him to bark, causing him to growl. Finally, Dorothy comes out of the farmhouse, and she's like, okay, like, come on, you want me to show you? Let's go.
Yeah. And she hops the fence because apparently that 10-acre lot is next door to their house. And that brings us unbelievably quickly to our first guest trivia of the book.
Yeah.
And Hannah, it has to do with an acre.
With an acre.
Wait, she only knows calories in pounds.
Yeah.
Well, you're going to have to convert that to acres.
No.
I know you don't know the metric system, but assuming that the 10-acre lot is square, right? So it's 10 square acres. How far across is that 10-acre lot? Is it, and this is multiple choice, is it A, 6,600 feet, B, 4,300 feet, C, 2,200 feet, or D, 660 feet? So that is 6,600, 4,300, 2,200, or 660.
Hannah, I actually have a really good tip for this one that'll help you.
Okay.
Just think of the exact amount of feet that are in an acre.
Yeah. Or something you might also know, the number of feet in a mile.
You guys are bullies. You know, I have no clue.
Okay.
Blake just oh my god. Blake is dying.
I'm okay.
Oh my god.
Okay, I'm just gonna make a guess. A B C D D. It's B.
So B is 4,300, and that is not correct.
Damn it.
It is 660 feet.
How much is an acre?
Oh, I don't know. I just know the 10 square
what's
acre.
660 divided by 10? 66?
No, because that's the distance across. So it's not like, yeah, it wouldn't be like multiplicative or whatever.
You guys just can't expect me to come over here, drink my little drinks, smoke my little
Here
smokes,
she goes.
and then guess math problems.
You don't have to guess. You could just do the math.
It's
Well,
not gonna
anyway.
happen.
And looking from an early perspective, Hannah, you are not looking so good for the multiple choice in this book. But
Yikes. So here's the thing. The Shaggy Man, after hopping the fence, which he did not know he was going to have to do, I don't think, he's tripping over the little hillets and rocks and the lot. His mind's on other things, is what we're told. I don't know what that means.
yeah, I don't know what other things he's thinking about, but he seems somewhere else.
yeah, and
Maybe on drugs.
Dorothy's honestly having a little bit of an attitude for whatever reason why, and she's like, hey, you're really clumsy. Are your feet tired or something? Like, what's going on? And he tells her his feet aren't tired, but his whiskers get really tired in the heat.
What does this mean? He was like, oh, yeah, the warm weather really tired. Like, they get tired. My whiskers get tired really easily in the warm weather. What does that mean?
Do they
Is there a
have-
joke I'm missing?
I think it's an arthritis joke where it's like, oh, my knuckles hurt when the cold comes.
Oh, but his
but his
whiskers.
hair hurts because he's shaggy.
Because he's shaggy
okay.
and he's covered in it, so of course they feel things
I-
too.
I won't.
Shaggy writes.
Yeah, I'm not gonna say that I get it, but I don't not get it. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, he's feeling okay though at best, but he does say that he wishes it would snow, and he's like, "Oh, like don't you wish it would snow?" And Dorothy's like, "Absolutely not! Like." If it snowed in August, so apparently it's August, it would ruin the corn and the oats and the wheat, and then Uncle Henry would be poor. And the Shaggy Man is like, okay, never mind, never mind.
He's like, done.
You're no fun. Yeah, it shouldn't snow. You're right. Is this the lane? Like, are we at the lane now?
Yeah.
And they are.
Yeah, Dorothy's like, okay, I'll go as far as the highway with you. And when they get there, she's like, okay, so to get to Butterfield, you just need to take the second, or no, the third left. Maybe it's the fourth, by the gopher hole or the tree stump. I don't. So while Dorothy's trying to remember the way to Butterfield, the Shaggy Man slips his hand in his pocket to grab an apple, and Toto bites one of his fingers.
And he just withdraws his hand and says, oh. But Dorothy literally just doesn't notice because she's still like, 5 feet past the ostrich. There ought to be a stump there and a hole that I
Your
know.
dog is being kidnapped.
Her dog
Yeah.
is in that man's pocket, and he's like, ooh, wow. Like, she doesn't fucking notice at all.
And by this time, Dorothy is beginning to realize that she doesn't know where the turn is. So she's like, "Ugh, okay, Shaggy Man, like, because you're almost there anyway, I'll just go the rest of the way." Because she figures when she sees it, she'll know. Because apparently her and Uncle Henry have gone this way 1,000 times, which I don't frankly believe. But she says, okay, let's just go. It's
Yeah,
only
but
a
you
little
don't know
ways further.
which stump is which.
Exactly.
Yeah, I guess she wasn't
is-
driving or paying attention.
She's
Apparently.
not right for the task. But they walk for a while. They come to a place where the 5 roads branch in different directions.
5 roads.
5
What's that
like,
about?
It's like a round, like there's a little circle with 5 roads jutting out from either end.
That
Which,
seems
like-
very biblical for
It's
some
just,
reason. It's
like,
like
yeah.
choose your own adventure.
They're at
Yeah.
they're in the middle of a 5-way intersection. Is the way that I understand.
Whoa. Okay.
They get to the end, and Dorothy is like, yeah, that road, that's the one, Shaggy Man. So the Shaggy Man, he just starts to go down one of the roads, and Dorothy's like, oh, hey, you're going the wrong way. And the Shaggy Man's like, but you just said that was the way to Butterfield, right? And she's like, yeah, you're not going that way.
He doesn't want to go to
He
Butterfield.
doesn't want to go to Butterfield.
Yeah. He's like, no, like I specifically didn't want to go there. I wanted to know how to get there so I wouldn't
he
have
didn't
to go.
accidentally go.
Yeah.
Yes.
And Dorothy's like, well, where are you going? He's like, I'm not super particular. I don't really care. And Dorothy's a little bit annoyed. because she was like, I
You're like, well,
walked
then
you all the way out here. Like,
yeah.
if he wanted to go not to Butterfield, she could have said turn around and go the other way. You know,
Yeah.
like it wouldn't have been that hard.
Dorothy is feeling honestly a little pissed off.
Yeah.
But the Shaggy Man like walks into the center of the intersection and he just starts walking and turning in circles and he just ominously says, "There are a great many roads here. Seems to me a person could go most anywhere from this place." So Dorothy starts looking around too. There's not just 5 roads. There's 10, 17, 20.
Yeah. She gets as
30.
high as 17 counting because after she counts 17, she's like, I don't know if I'm counting the same ones
There's
anymore.
too many.
There's
They're
too
moving.
many roads. It's
a
insane.
tornado.
Well,
It's
you
just-
think-
It's just roads, man.
What?
but the Shaggy Man seems completely unmoved by this. Like he's like, oh yeah, whatever, man. Like he shouldn't be so laissez-faire about it.
Dorothy's like, "Where is the highway?" And he's like, "I don't know. It was here a second ago, wasn't it?" And just like sits down.
Yeah. And you know what he does when he sits
God,
down? He pulls out yet another apple. I don't know. I mean, granted, someone who's walking down the street looking to go to not Butterfield could be very hungry, but he's eating a lot of apples. And so he grabs one, but he grabs it fast because he's like, I know that dog is going to bite me again. So I'm going to just grab it real quick. And he does. But when he moves the apple, Toto pokes his head out and he says, quote, "Bow wow."
He says, "Bow wow."
So loudly that Dorothy jumps at the bow wow.
Yeah, Dorothy's like, "What the hell are you doing here, Toto? Where'd you come from?" And the Shaggy Man's like, "Oh, I brought Toto along to guard the apples in my pocket in case someone wanted to steal them."
It's insane.
That-
It's just theft and then kidnapping.
Don't trust
It
him.
doesn't.
And then enslavement, I guess, if
It
he's
really doesn't
enlisting
add
Toto
up.
to do that.
Yeah.
It's crazy. But Dorothy's like, oh, okay. And she just pets Toto. And he runs over to her. So like he's fine. Like he's just like happy pretty much. And like she's chilling.
Guess
But
dogs
she
get over things pretty quickly.
I guess so, yeah. But she just doesn't really say anything. But, after that, Dorothy's kind of looking around and there's no farmhouses, nothing familiar. It's just like rolling fields and like flowers. And she's like, I can't even like tell where we are. Like I couldn't even possibly figure out where we are. And like she's like, well, I'm afraid that we've gotten lost. And it's like,
no.
yeah, you don't say.
Yeah, the Shaggy Man, he's like, "That's nothing to be afraid of. All of these roads must lead somewhere." And Dorothy's like, "Yeah, I don't want to be somewhere. I want to be home."
I have
Yeah.
a specific idea on where I want to go back.
Yeah. Dorothy
Um,
wants the road that goes home,
But
please.
Shaggy Man, he's like, "Oof, bummer. Wish I could help. I'm not from around here."
Yeah, I know. I've been helping you get around here, and now I'm lost.
It's terrible. I hate him already, but I'm sure I'll come to love him. Who knows?
God.
These books have a way. But Dorothy sits down by the Shaggy Man. She's just completely perplexed and confused about what's going on, which I'm a little surprised by because this is Dorothy motherfucking Gale. It's like,
Yeah.
you've been in some weird situations, kid.
yeah.
It is strange. And like I kind of get that she's like, because she was just home. Like she was home, she walked down the road, and now like this is happening. Like this is a little different than what she's been through.
She was
before.
always just somewhere.
It's
In
true.
the first book, she was just home. In the third book, she was just on a boat. In the fourth book, she was just in Hudson Siding outside of San Francisco.
Yeah, but like
she's always just somewhere, and then something spectacular happens.
I think that's true. The spectacular things are a tornado, a storm at sea, and an earthquake. But this
Okay,
time
so there's
nothing
been
happened.
There was no natural disaster.
Well,
There we
exactly.
go.
There was no.
Well, the natural disaster is the homeless crisis. She's with the Shaggy Man.
I guess so.
Wow, really, Elfrig Baum took it another direction.
But yeah, she sits down with the Shaggy Man. He offers her an apple. She's like, "No thanks." And the Shaggy Man tells Dorothy dogs can sometimes find their way back home better than people. So he's like, "Hey, maybe Toto can help you get home." So Dorothy's like, "Hey, Toto, lead me home." And he takes off down one of the roads.
He goes for it.
And he kind of like looks back at Dorothy, a little confused. And she's like, "You're leading me, man. Like, I don't know where to go. Like,
Yeah.
you tell me." So Toto turns around, goes down another road, and then down another, and then down another. Toto has no idea where he's going. They get so tired of running down the many different paths that they are so exhausted they just sit down next to the Shaggy Man and they're like, fuck, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They just go to rest with the Shaggy Man. And for some reason, Dorothy reflects that, oh man, so many strange things have happened to her. But she decides that this is the strangest of all. And I think that's insane. Like I said, she was just home 15 minutes ago.
She
but
was falling.
That's what she says.
for
Just so
days.
Just so you know,
Yeah.
Dorothy was in the middle of the sea in a crate that was not enclosed
Yeah.
for half a day, 16 hours.
That's already two things that are crazier than what has just happened.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
yes.
flew away in a house.
and then landed in that house. Totally
the
fine.
same house. And then when you came home, the house was back.
They built a new one.
They built a new one
But still.
in record time.
It's just
And she's teleported.
yeah. Well, and
She's
we're gonna
done
get there.
everything.
To be
If
honest,
Dorothy did this right now, she would go to a different country. So the Shaggy Man asks Dorothy, like, are your folks going to worry that you're gone so long? Because you seem lost. And she's like, yeah, they'll probably worry. But honestly, like, things happen to me so much. And then I always make it home. So
Uncle
the-
Henry says there's always something happening to me, but I always come home okay.
so she's like, they'll probably just assume that's going to happen.
Yeah. Hopefully they assume.
And I'm
that.
assuming the same thing.
Yeah, me too.
Oh my god!
I
Until she
assume you're
dies
gonna
of
make
bloody
it back.
death.
But the Shaggy Man says something a little out of pocket, and he's like, oh, I'm sure you'll make it home because good little girls never come to any harm.
Yeah, and he's like, and I'm a good guy, so nothing bad happens to me, which is just bad advice. Hey, you're a
Yeah.
good person, so nothing bad will ever happen to you.
Oh, it'll happen.
That makes it
It'll
more
happen.
likely the bad shit's gonna happen.
I
Yeah.
know I'm a bad person, but I think an unprecedented amount of good things happen to me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's quite the inverse relationship.
I was like, did anyone get my joke? But Dorothy looks him up and down, the Shaggy Man, and she just like kind of sees like, you know, you're kind of a hobo person, but he has a pleasant smile. And she asks the Shaggy Man why he didn't want to go to Butterfield.
Hannah, any guesses why he doesn't want to go to Butterfield? This little hobo.
Why the Shaggy Man doesn't want to go to Butterfield.
Now, why doesn't the Shaggy Man want to
A nonsense sentence in most contexts.
I'll
But-
take out the trash when the Shaggy Man goes to Butterfield.
And then the studio audience goes wild. Yeah. Hands on your hips, roll your eyes, and walk out. And then Roseanne comes in. Jackie! I'm sorry.
Oh my god. I think that's a good enough reason right there. That's what happens in Butterfield. What
Nobody
just
wants to
happened?
Well, it turns out that he doesn't want to go to Butterfield because he knows a guy who lives there, and that guy owes him 15 cents.
But he doesn't want 15 cents.
Mm-mm.
Because he thinks that money makes people proud and haughty. He doesn't want money. Yeah. He just wants to be loved. He doesn't want any money because he has something that is called the love magnet. Everyone he meets is sure to love him because he has the love magnet.
Now, Dorothy says what any of us would say in this moment.
What all
She
of us are
says-
thinking.
She says, love magnet.
And then, in a low and mysterious voice, the Shaggy Man says, I'll show you, but you can't tell anyone. He, yeah,
I'm calling the police.
I know, there's no cell phones.
He promises to show this little girl his love magnet as long as she doesn't tell anyone.
Yeah.
No.
He checks one pocket. Oh, it's not
10
there.
pockets. He checks so
pocket,
many
not there. So
pockets.
he's checking his pockets. Where's my love magnet? He finally pulls it out.
And it's wrapped in paper and tied with string.
Tied with string.
Yeah. But he unwraps it, and it's dirty, brown, horseshoe shaped. It's just a magnet. It's like
just
a
horseshoe-shaped
cartoon
magnet.
It's
Yeah.
like a cartoon magnet from Looney Tunes where they're gonna like make an anvil move and there's gonna be little
Yes,
electricity
it's
lines.
a magnet that says Acme on it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's brown and it's dull.
But the Shaggy Man tells Dorothy that
Oh my god.
this is the love magnet. It was given to him by an Eskimo in the Sandwich Islands, where there are no sandwiches at all.
But as long as he has it, no one can escape loving him.
They'll
So
all love him so dearly, and everyone asks him, "Now, why didn't the Eskimo?" Or sorry, everyone. Dorothy, she's my world. Dorothy asks him, "Why didn't the Eskimo keep the magnet?" And the Shaggy Man's like, "Well, he was tired of everyone loving him all the time. He wanted someone to hate him. So the next day after giving me the magnet, the Eskimo was eaten by a grizzly bear."
yeah. Oh, God. Okay. So, and this doesn't even none of this matters. But Dorothy is like, oh man, like he must have been sorry that he gave you the magnet. And the Shaggy Man is like, well, who could say? He was dead, so like we don't know if he was sorry. But the bear wasn't sorry at all.
But bumped.
Yeah. Because apparently the bear and Shaggy Man used to play ball in the Caviar Islands.
Good friends.
Shut up.
But it's because only after he got the magnet. Because after he got the magnet, the bear loved him and wouldn't eat him. But he was like, but you can't blame the bear for eating the Eskimo. It's just his nature, And I'm like, okay, you're a Eureka apologist, I guess.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, right.
Jesus.
But Dorothy tells the Shaggy Man about the hungry tiger whose whole thing is like, I want to eat a fat baby, but I don't because I have a conscience. And the Shaggy Man's like, oh yeah, this bear did not have a conscience. So whatever.
No
I
mercy.
don't know. So the Shaggy Man sits quiet for a while, and then suddenly he's like, hey, what's your name? Dorothy's like, my name's Dorothy, but what are we gonna do? Like, we can't stay here forever.
Yeah, she's
Yeah.
like, okay, let's get up.
What's the
we
plan?
we gotta go. And the Shaggy Man says, okay, well, we should take the 7th road because 7 is a lucky number for girls named Dorothy. Hashtag lucky number 7 and 7 cocktail. Hashtag Oz Hour.
I'm just
Anyway.
picturing RuPaul like, hashtag lucky number 7.
Yes.
Hashtag Oz Hour.
That's where we were going. But then the Shaggy Man told her that they should just take the road, and from wherever she chose to count. So Dorothy chose a road. She counted from 7 to left or right, I don't know. And then they were off, and they made their way down. They began their way down the road.
Yep. Dorothy,
Okay.
Shaggy Man, and Toto taking off down the road of 7.
And that is the conclusion of Chapter 1, The Way to Butterfield. Blake, what would you call that?
I quickly and in red titled this chapter Stranger Danger
Good one.
Yeah.
before
Yeah.
I even finished reading. it.
911.
911. Chapter 2. Dorothy meets Button Bright.
Button Bright.
I know that name. It's intriguing, isn't
Okay.
it?
So-
Yeah.
This 7th road, it goes on and on. It's winding through meadows with flowers, past groups of trees. They don't see any houses or living creatures for a long time.
But it's really pretty.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's like,
Okay.
it's Voe adjacent.
It's Voesque. Yeah.
Yeah.
But Dorothy is getting pretty anxious, though, because she's like, okay, like, we're literally just getting farther and farther from home. Like, nothing is familiar. We're not seeing anything. Like, we can't be going the right way. But she also knows that if they go back, any road they choose could take them also the wrong way. So she's just like, fuck it. Like,
who knows
okay.
if roads have melded into other roads that you might take
Yeah.
a road you're not used to, but that might actually take you home.
Yeah, you
Right.
never know.
But they decide to keep walking along, and the Shaggy Man, he's kind of like whistling a ditty. They're trying to keep their hopes up. Then they turn a corner, and there's this big chestnut tree making a shady spot across the highway. And sitting in the shade of the tree is a little boy dressed in sailor clothes,
Little sailor suit.
digging a hole with a piece of wood.
And it's a pretty big hole at this point. It's a tiny little piece of wood he has, but this hole is big enough to drop a football into. So it's like he's been going at it for a while.
Okay.
Yes.
And he's just sitting there in his little suit.
Yeah, he's
What's he
He's
up to?
precious. He makes me think of Flapjack.
Yes,
Oh.
yeah.
So they walk right up to this little boy. Dorothy's like, "Who are you?" And the little boy looks up calmly with his round, chubby face and his big blue eyes, and he's like, "I'm Button Bright."
But the thing is, he doesn't use that voice. It's just a normal, I'm Button Bright.
No, his voice is like, "I'm Button Bright."
Yeah. Dorothy isn't having any of that, though. She's like, okay, yeah, what's your real name?
Button Bright,
And she's like, well, that isn't a real name.
isn't it?
And she's like, no, just like that's a thing that someone would call you, but you have to, like, you must have a real name.
Yeah, he's like, "Papa always said I was bright as a button, and so Mama always called me Button Bright."
And she's like, and this is insane, and I'm sorry for all of it because it's necessary. Because it's like, Dorothy's like, okay, what was your papa's name? And he's like, Papa. And finally, the Shaggy Man is like, hey, never mind. Like, let's just call him Button Bright. Like, that's fine.
We're not talking
We can
to
call him what his mom
Jesus,
calls him.
Dorothy, chill out.
You're talking to a child.
But she isn't done with this one. She's like,
Oh.
where do you live?
Don't
And he's-
know.
Yeah, don't know. Well, how did you get here?
Don't know.
And she's like, okay, well, he must be lost. And it's like, well, yeah, Dorothy, of course he's lost. What are you talking about? But she has another question. What are you going to do?
Dig.
What are you? And she's like, okay, you can't dig forever. So what are you going to do after you dig?
Don't know.
And at this point, she's screaming. She's like, you must know something.
What must I know?
She's like, well, you have to know what would become of you. At that point, he's like, well, do you know what will become of me? And she's like, well, not really. And he's like, do you know what's going to become of you? And she's like, well, no, I
That's
don't
a
know.
threat.
It is, yeah.
His
But-
head turns around.
Yeah. I'm like, wait a sec.
So finally, Dorothy's like, the Shaggy Man like laughs at Dorothy, and he's like, "Come on, Dorothy, like no one knows everything." And she's like, "Yeah, but Button Bright doesn't seem to know anything." And she's like, "Do you, Button Bright? Do you know anything?" And he's like,
Don't know.
"Don't know."
Oh.
But Dorothy reflects in this moment that she has never met a single person who could give her so little information.
Right.
Which, yeah, this whole exchange took like 3 pages, you know,
Yeah.
like, and nothing was learned except his name.
But she's looking at him. She's like, "Okay, this kid is clean. He's got like nice, clean, bouncy curls. His clothes are new and nice and clean. Someone's
He's
taking
clearly
care
cared
of
for.
this kid."
Yeah.
Like,
He's-
where did he
he's-
come from? How did
He's
he
not been lost in the wilderness. He's not a
Yeah.
babe in the wilderness.
He has been lost for a while.
Yeah.
So she's like looking at him. She's like, "Okay, where did he come from? He doesn't know. Like, what can I ask him?" And she's like looking at his little sailor suit, and
So-
she's like,
And this is her new angle. She's like, okay, now I'm gonna grill this boy from a different angle.
"Yeah." So she's like,
She thinks she's FBI or something.
Yeah.
What's
Yeah.
happening?
she's like, "I'm gonna get any information
We're in
I
the
can."
investigation room.
And she's like,
or
"Okay,
interrogation room.
Button Bright, have you ever been to sea?"
And you're like, to see what?
No.
Uh-oh.
Like, have you ever been where there's water?
We have a well in the backyard.
Dorothy's pissed.
Yeah. She's like, have you ever been on a boat? And he's like, don't know.
No, no.
And she's
So-
like, where did you get the sailor clothes?
Oh, wait, Hannah.
Don't
what do
know.
you think he said? Oh. They get it. So the book at this point says Dorothy is in despair.
Yeah.
Okay.
She's gotten so stressed out by this.
Dorothy gives up.
God.
She's like, "You know what, Button Bright?" She says what she said to the Shaggy Man earlier. She's like, "You're just stupid." And Button Bright's like, "I am?
And she's like, you are.
Why?"
And she's like, well, what she thinks is like, I don't know. She wants to say like, don't know back at him, but she just says, you'll have to find that answer for yourself.
This is a real interaction.
Honestly,
Yeah,
here's the
it
thing.
is.
I feel like L. Frank Baum has tried to write this kind of like funny interaction previously,
Mm-hmm.
but he just like gets too like lost in it, and it ends up not being funny. This is actually so
Yeah.
funny.
It
Yeah.
reads as back and forth in this, which
well,
is
it's
impressive.
definitely a teenager talking to a child.
Yes, where it's like, just
Yeah.
tell me what you
Yeah,
want.
it's like oh my god, and they're just staying there, still asking them
just
questions.
staring at you.
Yeah, when they're just gonna say Dana Oh my god! When I was a teenager, I would have kicked a kid in the face.
Oh my
Yeah.
god, and that's why you didn't babysit. The Shaggy Man's like, okay, maybe instead of asking Button Bright a bunch of questions, Hannah, we should just bring him with us so that he's taken care of. And Toto thinks at this moment that Button Bright, the hole he's digging is to like retrieve some sort of wild animal or something. So Toto gets overexcited, jumps in the hole, starts digging,
Oh no!
throws dirt all over Button Bright, who I thought was gonna cry about it. He's fine.
It's his hole. He's glad to have it.
It's his hole.
continued,
Yeah, he's
I
like,
guess.
thank you.
Yeah.
He's like, I can take a break.
But he just gets covered in dirt. Dorothy picks him up by the shoulders
Yeah,
and like
Dorothy's
brushes him
like
off.
Dorothy's maternal instincts kick in this moment.
Yeah, I
I think
guess
she's like,
so.
I fucking can't stand you, but also, how dare your little sailor outfit be dirty?
But Dorothy's like, Toto, you get out of that hole. There's nothing in there. At that point, the Shaggy Man suggests that they get a move on because it's gonna get dark out eventually. So he's like, let's just get going, see what we can get to. And Dorothy asks him where he's planning to go, and he's like, don't know.
Yeah, as Button Bright once said, I don't know. But the roads must lead somewhere, or there wouldn't be any road at all.
Yeah.
Dorothy's like, sensible.
Yeah, makes sense. And that is the end of chapter 2. Dorothy meets Button Bright. And Blake, what would you call that?
I would call that the gang. Don't know.
Chapter 3. A queer village.
Woo! Happy
Yay!
Pride!
Happy Pride.
Woo!
Well, okay, actually, when this gets released, it will not be Pride. But
Happy last month was
Happy
Pride.
4th of July.
Happy 4th of July.
Pride never ends.
Pride never ends. So at this point, Button Bright has taken the Shaggy Man's hand as they walk. And he needs help walking because he's so little, but also we're told it's because the love magnet has made Button Bright love the Shaggy Man at once.
Yeah. So this is like Dorothy's first moment, like seeing the love magnet in action, because it worked on her, right? Like
I
she
guess
led
so.
she led him.
I'd never noticed.
No way.
I didn't even think
But
about
this
that
was the
earlier.
first time she sees it work, and she sees it work a couple more times. But she like notices, and she's like, okay. So the gang walks along in pretty high spirits considering the circumstances. And after some walking, they come to a large archway which spans across the whole road. And it's carved and decorated with like beautiful colors. It depicts a row of peacocks along the top with their tails spread out. And in the center of the arch is a carved fox face. And it's like this very like serious looking fox face. He's wearing spectacles and like a spiked crown. Like it's a really beautiful, like with the peacocks and the fox, it's a beautiful archway.
Okay.
They're pretty much enthralled by it. Like they are like living in it. They're like, oh, that's interesting.
They're taking their time.
But
Ooh.
out of nowhere, it seems, because they were so enthralled in their thing, but suddenly out of nowhere, an army of foxes dressed in like soldier uniforms come marching through the gate.
Which I'm picturing walking on their two hind legs.
Me too.
That's what I'm picturing.
Halfway through reading this chapter, I thought, oh my god, what if they're on all fours? Because it would like, why not?
Yeah, why not?
But they're not.
Yeah.
But all of these foxes are wearing green jackets, yellow pants, and they have bright red hats and like high boots. I imagine like up to their like little fox
like
knees.
knee high.
Yeah.
Knee-high.
And they and they also have red bows halfway up their tail, and they all are carrying a wooden sword with like sharp wooden teeth on it.
Yeah, it's like a
So-
serrated
like a
sword,
serrated sword,
which
yeah.
makes Dorothy say, I don't know
Yeah.
if you heard that. I gulped in the mic. But all of a sudden, like the soldiers, they surround the gang, and the captain shouts, "Surrender! You are prisoners!"
And it's literally in this moment that they all realize they're surrounded. First of all, like they haven't even like they're like, "Whoa, soldiers! Oh, we're stuck." Button Bright asks what a prisoner is.
It's a captive.
Well, what's a captive?
You're one. This makes the Shaggy Man laugh.
Yep, the Shaggy Man just
Yeah, that was a
loved
good performance.
that.
But the Shaggy Man, he bows to the soldiers. He wishes them a good afternoon. He asks if their families are well. And the fox captain, he has this angry, stern face. and you see it soften and turn into this smiling, happy face. Now, this is Dorothy's second instance of seeing that the love magnet might actually be like a real legit thing.
Oh shit.
And at this point, Toto doesn't realize really what's happening because he's a
Yeah.
dog. All he sees is they're surrounded, and he jumps out and he bites the captain on the leg.
Yeah, Dorothy's like, "Stop, Toto! Like, these are our friends."
And the captain's like, "Yeah, you're right. I thought you guys were enemies." And he called them enemies. He was like, "Your enemies are us," or whatever. But no, he's like, "You're our friends. Come and meet King Dox."
I'm sorry, I just realized we were leading back into more Button Bright shit. Because the captain's like, "Yeah, come meet King Dox, the king of Foxville, the great and wise sovereign who rules our community." And Button Bright is like, "What's sovereign? What's community?"
And the fox is like,
no.
he's like, "Don't ask so many questions, little boy."
And Button Bright's like, "Why?"
But the captain like kind of smiles and he's like, "Okay, like actually like it's good for you to ask questions, like otherwise you won't learn anything. Like I'm sorry, like you're a clever little boy, ask your
Changes
questions."
his tune.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but
he's like,
but
I learned
yeah.
something.
But he doesn't
today."
answer the question. He's like, "Okay, but like yeah, be a good boy, but I have to escort you to the king at once. So like I'm not going to answer your questions. Let's go."
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and which is fair. He has a duty to do. I appreciate the fox, the Captain Fox.
Someone can explain to the baby later.
Yeah.
But yeah, the soldiers march them into the city. And what they see in the city is like all of these buildings carved out of marble. There's a lot of bird decorations they notice that are like
Birds and
carved.
geese and ducks. Everything's a carved
Turkeys,
bird. It
yeah.
sounds really pretty,
It
actually.
sounds really pretty.
What I'm imagining is the whole city. It says it's carved out of marble, so everything is stone. It's glittering. It's multicolored. It's beautiful. So it's not like they're at like a hunting lodge. It's like white stone carved everything, and then on the face of it is carved all these like intricate carvings. Is what like
I
I'm
see.
seeing.
Yeah,
I
no, it's
see.
definitely not dead birds.
Yeah.
We would
Okay.
also be remiss to forget that fox eat all of the birds
Yeah.
that are on display.
It's
Yeah.
very
Um,
that, yeah. It's like,
okay,
hey, like
okay.
here's our
Um,
culture or whatever. But it's not like you're in a like at the. I don't even.
It's
know.
not dead things. It's
Yeah.
art.
Okay,
But
okay.
so then included in this art is over everyone's front door is a face of the fox who lives there, like representing like their family. So it's like really beautiful. And, like everything's marble. Like they're totally like, what is
They like nice things, I
this?
guess.
Foxes are coming out onto their balconies, like out their doors to see them. The women or the ladies or whoever that wants to are dressed in these like gowns that are like threaded with like feathers, but it looks so classy. Like Dorothy loves, everyone loves it. It's amazing. It's beautiful,
Yeah.
actually.
So after a bit of marching, they come to this big square, and in the center of the square is the royal palace. And the guards outside the palace admit the captain into the building, and he leads them through the halls of the palace. And like as they're walking through the halls, like they look in the different rooms and they see all these elegant foxes like sitting in these big beautiful chairs sipping tea and like being served by fox servants in white aprons. Like everything is very like what you would expect in our world, except it's these like beautiful foxes doing the same things. It's really just like very fantastic Mr. Fox.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I
It's
was
just
thinking.
fox people standing around.
They like nice things.
Finally,
It
they
is.
come to a big doorway covered with heavy curtains of gold cloth. And there's a big drum next to the doorway. And so the fox captain goes up to it and he bonks on it one time with each knee. So it's like bong bong with his knees.
Okay.
And then he instructs the group that they all have to do the same.
So they all play the drum. And the thing is, though, Button Bright, he liked that. And so he's just like, bang, 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 bang. Like, he just, like,
Oh,
keeps beating with
no.
his little knees. And the captain just, like, scowls at him and is like, stop that. Like,
Yeah.
don't
he has
do
to
that.
be removed.
Oh my
But
gosh.
Toto-
They want order.
Yes, they do. Toto couldn't obviously use his little knees to do that. So Dorothy, like, she does hers and then she just, like, gives a little bong. But when she does, Toto barks and the fox, like, scowls at him. So, like, they're, like, not liking that much. But then they just go into the room.
They're gonna eat him.
They just go. Oh, well, we'll
I
see.
hope not. But yeah, they are let into the room, and inside the room, it's decorated in gold walls and stained glass windows of many colors. And so the Fox King is sitting on his throne, and he's surrounded by a group of other foxes, and they're all wearing like spectacles, and they look really smart and important.
And Dorothy recognizes the fox from the carving on the archway, which also I don't think we mentioned, but the King Fox's face is also carved above the door to the palace. So
Yeah.
she's seen this same fox twice, and she's like, "Oh, that's gonna be the king." So she gives him a bow because she knows how to treat royalty, and the Shaggy Man bows. Button Bright bows, and Button Bright also says hello.
Yes.
Button Bright just says shit.
He does, and no one
He's-
cares.
okay,
They all
so-
love him.
Actually, we didn't mention this, but I think intentionally. But it said that like Button Bright seemed like he was like 3 years younger than Dorothy.
Yeah.
But if Button Bright is 3 years younger than Dorothy, he's like 7. But I'm picturing Button Bright as like 4.
I'm imagining being like 5 or 6 with
Wait,
amnesia.
how old is? I always think of Dorothy as being like 13,
I think she's probably like 12 or 13.
Dorothy's
yeah.
like 11 or 12.
11 or 12.
13 is the absolute highest you could go, but
Okay,
I think
okay.
she's 11 or 12.
Okay.
She's 9. We said 9 to 11. That was like the long running thing, and now all of a sudden she's 12 or 13.
Man, it's book 5. I'm just making assumptions.
I don't think she's aged though. I think L. Frank Baum has kept her the same
It's
age.
been pretty
but
close.
good point. Yeah, with time running on, she's probably like 14, but I don't think that's happened, unfortunately. But the king is like, "So what brought you guys here?" And the Shaggy Man's like, "Our legs, may it please your royal hairiness." And yeah, I almost said the right word. But the king is like, "Okay, what's your business?" And the Shaggy Man's like, "To get away as soon as possible."
But of course, the Fox King is already entranced by the power of the love magnet. So he loves the Shaggy Man at once. And the king says, "Hey, you guys can get out of here whenever you want. But first, I would love to show you the sights of the city and entertain you and show you
Ooh.
everything." Yeah. So he's like, this is probably the most bang for his buck the Shaggy Man has ever gotten out of the love magnet.
I
No
would
one
say
else
so.
has been able to do this for him.
But
ever.
but none of this actually has anything to do with the love magnet that I can tell, because the king immediately says, "Oh, and you know what? We are just so honored to have little Dorothy visiting. Like every country that Dorothy visits becomes famous. Like we're so happy to have her here.
Oh
so
my
we're gonna give you
God.
all these things."
yeah, Dorothy's like, how do you know my name?
Yeah.
Because that's insane. But
She's famous.
He
Yeah.
knows her name the same way we all know her name, basically. Because he's like, "Dude, we all know you. Like ever since Princess Ozma made you her friend, everybody knows who the hell you are."
yeah, you're a very
Damn.
important person. And Dorothy's like, "Oh, like, do you know Ozma?" Because obviously that's like a way to get out of this. And he's like, "No, like, I don't, but like, I really hope to be invited to her birthday party, which is on the 21st of this month," which means we have 2 elements here. We know it's August from what Dorothy said in the first chapter, and we know that Ozma's birthday is on the 21st. So Ozma's birthday is August 21st.
I smell a bonus episode coming on.
Ooh.
Ooh.
Okay.
That sounds fun, right?
Yeah.
Okay, wait, we'll talk about it after this. But yeah, so he says that Ozma's birthday party, it's supposed to be like the most brilliant royal ceremony ever held in any fairyland. And he hopes that Dorothy can get him an invitation. And Dorothy's like, "Yeah, like if I ask her, I'm sure Ozma will invite you to her party. But question, how are you going to get from here, Kansas, to Ozma's party in the Emerald City?"
He just laughs her out of the room. He's like, "Oh, sorry, but like, what makes you think we're in Kansas?"
Beyonce?
Yeah.
Beyonce.
Kansas. But Dorothy's like, "Well, I just left my house 2 hours ago, so I frankly find it hard to believe that I'm not in Kansas."
Yeah.
Yeah, she knows how far she walked.
The fox knows everything about
He
her,
does.
though. So he's like, "No, hold on. have you not gone from Kansas to Oz in like literally the blink of a moment?
Yeah.
And she was like, well, yeah, I've done that several times. And he's like, so girl,
So what's different?
like
Yeah.
you walked for 2 hours and you're surprised you're not home. So he tells her she's in Foxville, which is closer to Oz than it is to Kansas.
And you know what Dorothy's reaction is? Dear me, is this another fairy adventure?
Now here's the thing: if you let Dorothy shenan once, Dorothy will shenan again. So Dorothy, she asks the Shaggy Man if he's like some sort of magician or fairy that enchanted her when he asked the way to Butterfield. She's like, you did this. Like, how am I here in a fairyland again? Like, you must have done this. He's like, girl, I didn't do this. Weird things have happened to me ever since I got this love magnet, but I didn't mean to do this. If you want to get home, I'm going to help you get home. So, like,
He definitely is involved somehow.
I think L. Frank Baum realized, oof, I made this guy super
Yeah.
creepy. And rather than going back and fixing that, he just decided to make this moment an important moment where he's like,
Yeah.
no, if you want to get home, I'll help you get home. I didn't do this. I didn't do none of this.
Oops.
Yeah. It's strange, but you know what Dorothy says? She says never mind. She's like, there isn't much to see in Kansas anyway, and Aunt Em isn't gonna worry too much as long as she doesn't stay too long. So she's just immediately like, yeah, okay, I'm down for the adventure in
The
the
fox-
fairyland again.
The Fox King is like, yes, accept your lot, whatever it may be.
Yeah. The
Okay, Batman.
but yeah, the Fox King is like, okay, yeah, like take what you get and don't throw a fit, do it, whatever. And he also, for some reason, comments that Button Bright looks very clever and that Dorothy has found new friends on the way, if nothing else.
Dorothy and the Shaggy Man are like, oh, yeah, no, he's super bright. As a matter of fact, that's his name. He's Button Bright. Button Bright is the last Mimsy or something. Like, I don't know why he's so important.
He is
Yeah.
not a stuffed animal that traveled through time
Isn't
to
he?
help get resources to save the universe. If I remember that movie
I don't remember.
from
a damn
2006.
thing.
I don't even know that.
I was
movie.
picturing a monkey until I blinked and was like, oh, a rabbit.
Oh, yeah. One of those. But that is shockingly the end of Chapter 3, A Queer Village. And Blake, what would you call that chapter?
I would call that Dorothy meets the 20th century fox.
Good.
Mambo.
Thank you for listening to Oz Hour. Please join us next time as we continue with Chapter 4, King Dox. Please rate, review, and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts, and follow us on our Instagram and TikTok at Oz Hour Podcast for the latest on everything Oz. Oz Hour, created and hosted by Blake Stone and Wyatt Swingham. Co-hosted by Hannah Aguirre. Audio production by Charlie Johnson. Theme music written and performed by Rudy Klobus. Cover art by Valentin Lucas. As promised, Hannah's memory of Book 4, Dorothy and the Wizard in Oz. Last time on Oz Hour.
Okay, last time on Oz Hour, not Blake, Dorothy. Dorothy arrives from San Francisco, and I forgot where she went, but she meets. We gotta start over. Okay, so last time, Dorothy was arriving from San Francisco where she meets Little Zeb and Jim. And we don't know Jim yet, though. And then all of a sudden, a giant earthquake happens, and they fall into the center of the earth. And they're falling for a very long time. And they end up in this weird glass city thing where gravity's really weird, and there's these people called the Mangadoos or Mangaboos. I can't remember their names, but those guys, and they're like little turnips and vegetables and shit, and they sprout, and there's no children, they're just adults, and it's really weird, and they're horrible, and they try to stuff everyone into a black hole, and they they end up escaping from that and go to this other place, the land of Vo, I think, where they have peaches, and also the wizard's there. He's been there the whole time, and he has his little piglets with him as well. and they go, and also Eureka. And they're all together in this land of Vo, where there's invisible bears and there's invisible people because they eat these weird little peaches things. And then they are like, we don't want to be here, and the piglets are invisible, and we're confused, and we got to get out of here because this is getting weird. And they try to escape from a river, and they float up to the river so they can climb up a mountain, almost get attacked by the invisible bears, but they get out just in the nick of time, and they climb up the mountain. They meet a braided man, they meet cloud fairies and all these other weird things. And then what else happens? Oh, the wooden gargoyles. They go there and they get taken captive from the wooden gargoyles, but then Zeb and Eureka are able to get the wings from them, and then they escape, and then they go to another place where they fly away, and they see these dragonettes that are that are tied to these little rocks, and they're just like, haha, we want to eat you, but we can't because we're taken, and Mother won't be here till we don't know when. So then they're like, okay, well, we're just going to go then. And that's what they do. And then dumbass little Dorothy the entire time had the ability to call Ozma to get them out of this place when they almost died 3 separate occasions. And she gets them out by doing her little hand signal at 4 p.m. And they end up in Oz, where they meet everyone and they reunite, and it's really cute. And Jim's being a little bitch, and so is Eureka. And then Eureka pretends to kill, or doesn't even say anything, but like almost kills a piglet, but the piglet ends up escaping, and then they have to have a whole court trial because of it. And it's like super annoying because she could have said the whole time that she didn't kill the fucking pig, but that's not what she did. She made everyone go to court, and then everyone else was happy when they realized that all the little piglets were alive. I think that's it.